get started if we could. And well, we're going to pray first for anybody. And if anybody has any prayer requests, we'll throw them on here, and we'll do that first, and then we'll get going. So, Miss Connie, your family, Irving, your grandson.
I want to praise because my daughter
Praise.
got in a tremendous accident yesterday, and she is all right.
Oh, man.
A truck hit her truck, smashed into her truck.
She's okay, though. Wow. All right.
And she's okay.
Good. Bob.
We headed back to Alabama tomorrow.
Oh. Tomorrow? Man.
Tomorrow morning.
You already had your time in Virginia, huh?
Yeah. Well, for this time, we'll be back for things.
I got you. Go ahead, Bob.
Pray for Janice. She lost her sister-in-law Monday.
Lost her sister-in-law?
She lost her sister-in-law Monday.
Okay.
But pray for this fella too, he's having hand surgery on Tuesday,
Yeah.
so I'll have another baby to take care of.
I was gonna make a comment on that, but I
Well,
think
you
I'm
just
gonna let
be
it ride.
Yeah,
I think I'm gonna let it ride.
I'm not going to interfere with that one.
My
Brother. All right. Well, let's go ahead and pray, and then we'll get started. All right. Let's pray together. Dear Lord, I want to thank you for another day that you've given us all, and this time together that you've given us, this opportunity to gather together, learn about you, learn of your word, and learn of all the things you continue to teach us, Lord. Please open the hearts of each one of us and let us to be willing to listen and to understand exactly what it is you want us to hear. Lord, specifically, we want to ask for Brother Irving's grandson there with seizures and the other things he got going on, also his salvation. Miss Connie and her family, both here in Alaska. And I also want to praise you too, Lord, for her daughter not being hurt in the accident she was in. Thank you so much for that, Lord. Smithy family's traveling to Alabama tomorrow for some reason. I don't know why they go back to Alabama, but anyway, that's where they live. Keep them safe during that whole time, Lord. And for Rob and his surgery's coming up, and for Janice and the comfort that she needs with their loss of her sister-in-law. For Jeremiah too, and his salvation, and that you would convict his heart and bring him to the knowledge that he needs, and hopefully the church after that. And the pastor today, and as he brings the message, and all the other teachers out there, Lord, what we're going to do today, let it be pleasing to you, let it honor you, get me out of the way. We ask it all in Jesus' name. Amen. All right. Lost my little clicker thing. Yay. It's the first time I got to use the big TV. How about this? All right. Kind of read it up there. So, Sunday school today. Yeah. How about that? All right. So this is the verse that we're going to use as our Sunday school springboard. This is what I want to try and do every time that we learn our Sunday school stuff is sanctify the Lord God in your heart. Be ready always, to give an answer to every man and ask you the reason the hope is in you with meekness and fear. And this is from 1 Peter 3:15. All right, so that's what we're going to try and do. So if we want to do that, one of the first things that we do, and the thing that I like to do most often, is creation. And we're going to start with that and then go from there. So, animal we're going to talk about today is that one, the shells. All right. Huh? Nope, not exactly. But there are shells. And God made the shells. But that's not exactly what we're going to talk about, though. Inside these shells is what we're going to talk about, the animal that's in there. And it's not a hermit crab, it's this kind of animal. And it's called a cone snail. Random. And the conus majus I'll explain to you in a little bit, but there's a whole bunch of them. Cone snail is what we're going to do. He lives in that little shell, you know. And that's where he is. He is a small mollusk. Does anybody know what a mollusk is, by any chance? Soft body. They what? No, they don't. They won't. I don't count that one. Tastes good. Ugh. They do have soft bodies. Their bodies are not segmented. A lot of them have shells, but not all of them. And this one here does have a shell, the cone snail, but actually his shell He doesn't have to switch it out like a hermit crab. His shell grows as he grows. It's kind of neat. So you see those shells out there in the ocean. Now you know where a lot of them come from. It's from cone snails. That's pretty neat. All right, let's see. He's going to grow up. The biggest one they found is about 9 inches long. So about the size of a sheet of paper. A little bit smaller than that, but sheet of paper will give you a pretty good reference for the cone snail. There are 900 plus, depending on where you look, 1,000 plus species. And the one I picked is the Conus majus, like I said, and I'll explain to you in a minute why that. But those 900 plus species out there they've classified, but yeah, anyway, we'll get to that part in a second too. When you find the cone snails, if you do find one, they're going to live in a temperate environment. So it's like right near the equator. They don't go in the cold areas like the Arctic. They're cold in the ocean, but it's deep. But they pretty much live in the tropic areas. And where they do live, it's ground. The ground underneath them is rock, stone, and sand. They live on coral reefs. So that's basically where they live at, okay? They're at a variety of different depths, so you'll find them all over the ocean. Well, not all over, but those tropical oceans, and they're going to be from 0 meters. That doesn't mean they're going to be on top. That's less than a meter, so a couple feet. All the way down to 800 feet, so you'll see them spread around all the way down and through there. Okay, and something about this creature that's kind of unique is that it's predatory. This is what they look like as a predator. The cone snail is a predatory creature. Not only that, he's carnivorous. What's that mean? Does everybody know? He's a meat eater. So this cone snail is a meat eater. Wow. What? Yeah. He eats worms, he eats mollusks, and he eats other cone snails. He actually eats small fish too, which is random, but that's exactly what they do. And you think about the cone snail, it's like, how does this creature do that? Well, we'll get into it. Like I said, the cone snail, there's another picture of him. That little flowery thing is actually its mouth, and that other little tube coming out of there is what's called a siphon. So that's kind of how he breathes. And the one before this, yeah, that little thing, that little pink thing, we're going to talk about right here. So there he is, the cone snails. They are highly venomous. That's what's crazy about this animal, and that's how he's a predatory species. They're highly venomous. Actually, so venomous, they can be lethal to human beings. So if you get stung or bit by a cone snail, it can kill you. So watch out for cone snails, by the way. But temperate environment, tropic environment down there, as long as you don't kick one of them, you're probably going to be okay. But they can be lethal.
Shells, if you think there's something in there.
If you think there's something in that shell, just leave it alone. No, don't know what's in there. But yeah, the cone snail, highly venomous, and it can be lethal. So the way that it catches its prey is that little pink thing that I showed you a minute ago. It shoots out a harpoon out of it, a barbed harpoon. Crazy. I do it. Well, I'll explain it to you right here in a second. He fires this harpoon out of there that's toxic. So he can do that to people too. But he does that, and it's got a barb on it. So it hooks into that thing that he got, and it can't get away from that little harpoon. But if that thing actually gets hit by the harpoon, the toxin, the venom that goes into it is so strong that it's pretty much going to not necessarily kill it. But I'll show you what it does, paralyze. And each of the 900 plus species out there all has their own type of venom, which is kind of crazy, but they all have a different venom in them. So it's like each snail that goes out there kills a certain type of, not kill is the wrong word. It doesn't always kill them. It paralyzes them, that's the big one. It usually does paralyze them, but being a snail, each one of them has their own type of venom. So they go out there and depending on the prey that they're trying to eat, its venom is specially designed to kill or paralyze that certain creature. So that's how it does it. So that's what a cone snail does. It's a predatory carnivorous species that shoots harpoons at its prey. It pulls them on in. Kind of crazy. but it has its own little venom too. And that little flowery thing, like I said, is the mouth. And just to make it a little bit clearer, I'm gonna have a little bit of a video here that hopefully works, and this will show you exactly what the cone snail does as he's underwater, okay? So here we go. All right. Oh, we did need sound, didn't we? Can we do sound up there? Do what? Wonder if it's on my end. Yeah, it's a silent film, so. Oh, yeah. Okay, well, you can kind of see what's going on, and I'll try and narrate. So there is the cone snail, and that little thing that's moving around on top is called the siphon. The little thing at the bottom is it's called a proboscis. It's this little thing, mosquitoes have them, so they stick you, and then go from there. So yeah, siphon on top. The little things that coming out of the mouth is its proboscis, that thing that's sticking way out there, okay? Yeah, that thing. It also has the eyes that you can't see. The eyes come off to the sides just like any other snail. It is a snail, so I mean, this is exactly what it looks like. They're trying to show you the harpoon that it fires in there. That's what the harpoon looks like. It's kind of small, but that's exactly what that thing shoots out of that little proboscis into the into the creature that it wants to eat. So, yeah, there's its harpoon. So there's one of the creatures that it eats, which is a fish. So you think about a snail and a fish. How does it do that? So the fish gets close enough to it that it shoots it with the venom. But now we'll go a little bit farther. There's that thing that's coming out. It's going to shoot that fish. It will shoot it. Go. I've seen this before. It's going to shoot it. So the fish doesn't make it. Sorry. They wanted to make it. They're going to make it all dramatic for you. And it's like, look at the fish. Boom. So that thing hits it. Yeah, well, it's the barbed hook on the end of that harpoon that it shoots out there and pulls the fish in towards it. The fish, you can still see it breathing. So it didn't die. It didn't kill it. And this is another thing that they do. This is extremely sped up, but they will bury themselves in the sand and wait for the fish to kind of float over top of them. And when it does, boom, that snail hits it with that thing, and that fish can't get away because it's been hit with that poison, which works super fast within seconds. And there's that mouth, that flowery thing, and there's the fish on the side. The way that it works is the fish is still alive right now. It's still alive right now too. And that snail is going to be eating that fish random. I told you. So it shot it with its harpoon, then it ate that live fish all the way, sucked it into that flowery thing, into its mouth. That was its mouth too. And it pulled it all the way in there. Yeah. That's the cone snail. So that'll give you an idea of how it does that. It shoots it with that thing that comes out of its mouth with this harpoon. It immobilizes the fish so it can't get away or whatever it's trying to kill, and then eats it with that mouth thing while it's still alive, that mouth-looking flowery thing. So yeah, that's exactly how it does it. So the Conus majus is the one that I picked. And this is after that, that's how it works. So that is how it kills stuff, the predatory animal. Carnivorous. Anyway, the cone snail though. I don't know why that person holding it in its hand, and that's up to them. So wish they wouldn't have done that. But it might be because of this reason right here. The cone snail is actually going to be used medicinally. It's used in a lot of medicines now. Not a lot. It's used in specifically one medicine right now. And they've kind of got snails, and the Conus majus is the one I picked for this specific reason because it was the first one that they used to make a medicine out of. So the Conus majus is magic snail is actually what it, or magic cone. That's what that means. I don't know why they picked that one, but that's the first one they used. I guess because you can hold it in your hand. I don't know. But anyway, it does a medicinal use. The medicine that it's used for is a pain reliever, okay? So if you take that venom from the cone snail and extract it, I don't want to be that person, but he probably gets paid a lot of money. And he gets that out of there, and then they can make this pain reliever out of this. And it is a non-addictive pain reliever, actually. So it's one of the better ones for us. It's non-opioid. It's not an opioid, kind of like our opioid crisis. The cone snail pain reliever is not that way. And it's actually 1,000 times stronger than morphine. 1,000. I wonder how they did discover it. Probably somebody got bit and goes, hey, that didn't hurt so bad. So the venom, I didn't tell you about this, but the venom, it actually has a pain reliever in it, and it has an immobilizer in it, and some of them have lethality in them. So it hits them with a pain reliever, so they're like, wait, what just happened? And then the next toxin hits that it completely immobilizes them, paralyzes them, and then that mouth comes over top of them while they're still alive and sucks them in and eats them. That's how it works. Anyhow. It is. It's a cone snail, though. All right. So the medicinal use, pain reliever. And we ask why it might not be used as much today because it has to be in the cerebrospinal fluid, that thing that goes right up into your spine. And the way that they get it there is they have to put a catheter into your spine to inject that stuff in there. But it is 1,000 times stronger than morphine, and it is non-addictive. But it has to go in your cerebrospinal fluid. Can anybody think of one other reason why we don't use that too often? I don't want to be immobilized. Go ahead.
Well, yeah, if you hit it wrong, you can paralyze someone.
Yeah, you could paralyze somebody.
And it would be the medicine, would be just how they insert it.
Yeah,
Probably pretty rare.
it is pretty rare. So what would that mean for it?
Expensive.
Expensive. Wow, it's super expensive. It's actually one of the top 10 most expensive painkillers on the planet. This is 7 or 8, depending on where you look. Number 7, number 8, the cone snail. Cost is always a big deal. Love of money is the root of all evil. Anyhow, top 10 most expensive. The way that it's most expensive, though, is it costs $800 a milliliter. If you think about a milliliter, that little thing, if you've ever done it, whether you give a kid and it has that little syringe thing in there, a milliliter is barely that much, and it costs $800 for that. But if you work in a hospital, you're not going to buy it per the milliliter, you're going to buy it per the gallon. So if you have $800 a milliliter, think about how much that is per gallon. $3 million a gallon. So think you're going to the store and buying.
Want to hit it and knock it off and break it.
No, do not do that. If you go to the store and you buy a gallon of milk, it's $6, $7, $8 now. If you were to go buy some cone snail venom, it's cost you $3 million. And like I said, it's like number 7, number 8, and which is going to lead to the question, what's the most expensive? Well, the most expensive is actually called a Deathstalker scorpion. And per milliliter, it costs about $10,000. Per the gallon, like I said, if you were to be a Deathstalker scorpion milker, per gallon, $39 million per gallon for that stuff. Ugh. I know. I'll let y'all do that. And then when you get a gallon of scorpion venom, just let me know, and I'll be there to say, hey, good job, all right. Anyhow, thrill. Anyway, the cone snail, $3 million a gallon for that venom that it shoots out there. All right. So yeah, that's basically how it works. But how did the cone snail get here? So what I'm going to do now is I went online, I tried to find, okay, well, where the cone snails come from, obviously. And I took this quote that I'm going to show you right here in a second and just copied and pasted. I didn't change it at all, okay? This is exactly what it says. And this is what they said about the cone snail. The cone snail fossil has been unearthed and date back to the Eocene epoch, which occurred about 56 million to 33.9 million years ago. Very precise. It's only a 22 million range, okay? So, but on top of that, some of them also date back to Holocene epoch, 12,000 to 11,500 years ago. Also very precise on there. But if you look at that, it's like, okay, what's the difference in the 56 million year old one and the 12,000 year old one? What's the difference? And the difference is nothing. There is no difference. It's exactly the same creature. And the fossils have been found in different layers. And they measure the layer that it's found in by the fossils that are found in them. Okay? So if you find it in a certain layer, it must be 56 million years old, okay? And then they ask, well, how do you know how old that layer is? Well, by the fossil that we find in it. And then it's like, okay, so how do you know how old that fossil is? By the layer that it's found in. Okay, so how do you know how old that layer is? By the fossil that do you see the circular reasoning that goes on there? That is exactly how this is done. But beyond that, I would ask this simple question too. Kind of a simple one. It's a snail. Are snails fast? No, they're not fast. So if this very first snail that shoots this harpoon out, what if it misses? It dies. And it's not going to chase that thing down and eat it because it's a snail. It's not fast at all. So if it misses, it's going to die. If it dies, it can't pass on any new information or other information or whatever. It just can't do that. But then the snail too, okay, let's say it hits it. At that time when it hits it, that little flowery mouth had to suck in that live creature, but it had to have all those systems in place. So that mouth had to already be there. When the mouth brought it in, it had to have an ability to digest that creature. And after it digested, it has to be able to use whatever it digested to for energy or power or whatever. All those systems had to be in place at the same time. You know what I mean? It can't have evolved over time. It had to have all of them at the same time. So if it has to have all of them at the same time, that kind of refutes the whole idea of 56 million years ago to 12,000 years ago. There's no way. I mean, you've got a snail that fires this thing. So, I mean, we look at it, we think, man, that's not very appealing. But God made that snail specifically for this one purpose. And I think he made it for this one purpose just so an evolutionist guy would look like a fool. Because, you know, that's just how I see it. Anyhow, all right. So that's the cone snail. All right, so, yeah, good. All right, got any questions on the cone snail? Got it all figured out? Yeah. Did you have one? All right, good.
How much venom does each cone snail produce? So how many would you have to milk to get 1 milliliter?
Quite a few. And then milking a cone snail is going to be a little bit tougher because they have to take something down there, and that little mouth that comes out has to strike whatever they put in front of it. And then when they put it in front of it, it's usually like a spongy kind of thing. But they have to make sure that the cone snail wants to shoot that, and then after it does, that hook, that venom, or that harpoon can't come out. So it's shooting the venom in there, but it only shoots enough venom for that one harpoon. So after you get that, I mean, it's not going to be a lot. It's less than, I can't remember the number, but it's less than several milliliters. You have to milk over 100 to get 1 milliliter. So,
I still want to know who discovered all this.
yeah, I think it's somebody that got stung, and he was like, man, that hurt pretty bad. And if he lived through it,
Discovered it could only be put in the cerebrospinal.
I don't know how they did that either. Actually, you know what they did is they started using it on cancer patients because these people that were out of options, they were just like, man, do something to make this pain go away. And the cancer patients were the first ones that they actually used it on. They did use it on rats and stuff like that and started killing it. And then there had to be a first human subject, and it was a cancer patient. I do remember that. It was a cancer guy who said, this is too painful. Give me something. So I gave him cone snail venom. And it worked for a little while, yeah. But it was not addictive, and that was good. Anyhow, any other questions? Oh, I didn't even talk about the salt. It lives in a ocean environment. So if you got a cone snail, it lives in an ocean environment. The oceans are salty. Has anybody ever put salt on a slug?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, what happens to it? Turns into goo, right? How come that creature can live in the marine environment?
Got a shell.
Oh, but the shell, is it waterproof? Not really, because it has to get out of it. So how does it live in the salt water and not die? It's been specially designed to do that. If it developed over time and it said, oh, the salt water, that's the place that I want to live, it would turn into goo like immediately. So it's like, how did that thing get that? It is.
How does it digest, how long does it take to digest the fish? Like, because it's vulnerable when it's out of its shell, because there's no way to pull the fish in the shell. So,
It's vulnerable in a way,
yes.
and where it eats that fish is exactly where the harpoon comes out. So it will pull the fish inside of its shell. So that's basically what it does. It pulls it in its shell. Well, and the shell is actually big enough to hold a meal. Like I said, the shell grows along with it. So it's a little bit bigger than the actual animal, just so it can pull in some.
Another complexity of knowledge, technically, because that snail
Yeah.
needs to identify a fish that will fit
inside its shell.
inside its shell. It can't just discriminately eat any fish that comes along. It's got to say, that one won't work.
Yes, that's correct. You come up here and teach this too here, wife. So you're on top of it though. That's exactly right. All right, so anything else? Code still wise? All right. Yeah, it is.
It doesn't want plants. It wants fish.
No, man, it's carnivorous. It's predatory snail. All right. Yeah. All right, so no more questions on the code snail. So good. We're going to go to the next part, which we'll see. And then, like I was saying earlier, this is going to be our text for the days to come that I'm teaching this, and sanctify the Lord God in your hearts. Be ready always. So you need to be ready always to give an answer to every man. Ask you the reason of hope that's in you with meekness and fear. So we need to be able to give an answer, but we need to do it gracefully, meekness and fear. That fear being a respect for the Word of God. So that's what that is from 1 Peter 3:15. All right, before I go though, I'll give you this little story. About 2 weeks ago, or no, last week. That's why I asked you. It was last week. They had the woman's retreat or whatever, to where they went down to the edge, and one of the women that came back or went with them, and then after she came back, is Lauren Hesse. I don't know if y'all know Lauren. Most of you might know her. Anyway, she has a little daughter, 2-year-old daughter. I think she's 2. And anyhow, she brought her daughter with her. But we were here at the church after the woman's thing was over. And I was locking it up, and I was turning off lights. And I guess Elena had forgotten something, so she wanted to go get it. But she didn't want to go by herself. She wanted her mom to go with her because I had turned the lights off, and it was dark. And then her mom grabbed her hand and took her over there and got her thing and brought her back. And when she brought her back, I had to ask Lauren, I was like, so she didn't want to go into the dark, right? And Miss Dawn, I think, was there. And I was like, she didn't want to go to the dark. Nope, she didn't want to go to the dark. I was like, did you teach her that? You know, she's 2, so she had to learn from somewhere, right? Did you teach her to be hesitant or to be afraid of the dark? It's like, no, I didn't teach her that. So that means that she came out knowing immediately that the dark was something she didn't want to attempt on her own. She needed somebody to go with her. And when her mom went with her, when her parent went with her, she wasn't afraid anymore. She just went through it, got her thing, came back. She was not scared. The same kind of thing is supposed to happen to us. So if we think some situation or darkness even, or whatever it is, some trial, some tribulation, we hopefully, a lot of the times that we look at it, we're like, I can't handle this. But if we look to our parent, our God, and say, God, can you help me get through this? He'll hold our hand and get us through that. You know what I mean? Just like Lauren's little girl did. Mommy, hold my hand. We do the same thing, hopefully, with God and say, hey, help me get through this. I can't do it on my own, which is good. God will always be there to help you get through it, okay? Now then, that comes to the question, though, how did dark get here? So did God make the dark? That would be one of the starting question I would say to you. Did God make dark? Anybody? Yes. Okay. When? Day one? Okay. Day one, the absence of light. Okay.
It definitely wasn't 53 million.
I agree. It wasn't 53 million years ago. 6,000-ish. So, darkness was upon the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Where does it say that God made dark?
Separated the light from the dark.
He did separate the light from the dark. That's what it says.
The darkness is the absence of light.
Darkness is the absence of light. Okay. Let's do, I marked this down so you don't have to turn here. 1 John 1:5 says this. 1 John 1:5, here we go. This then is the message which we have heard of him, speaking of God, and declare unto you that God is light, and in him is no darkness at all. God is light. So before he made the universe or anything else, was there any darkness? God is light. Was there any dark there? There could not have been, okay? God is light, and there was no darkness at all, but then he had to divide the light from the darkness. But just like I was telling you a second ago, if you look in Genesis, you will not see God said, let there be dark. You know what I said? God said, let there be light. Go ahead. Was there? You tell me. Is there a beginning and end of what? The universe? Yeah. Do I know where it is? No. God knows. But think about what Brandon said right there. Is there a place that darkness can exist and that God just used? Is that what you're saying? Yeah, because if he's the only thing there and he is light, there is only light. He hadn't created a light source, but he is light, so he is the source of light for the universe, I would think. But did he create it in that kind of way where we think create? All right, let's hold on to dark and light for a second. We'll get back to that one. I wanted that one to springboard into the next one. So, dark and light, we usually associate darkness with something bad, correct? Something wrong, something evil. And evil exists in the world, does it not? Yes. Did God create evil? How do you know? God is light. That's not evil, though. That's dark and light. I'm saying evil. He is perfect. So he made an angel with the ability to fall, and he knew he was going to fall, so is that not God creating evil? No? Okay.
It's created in Satan's own heart.
I agree. It was created in Satan's own heart, but God made Satan. There's the word, what? All right. Yeah, okay. It is a little bit of circular reasoning. Yeah. If we think about evil, though, so God, we're saying God didn't create evil. Is that correct? Correct. Okay. And I'll have a Bible verse already right here to affirm that. Let no man say when he is tempted, I am tempted of God, for God cannot be tempted with evil, neither tempteth he any man with evil. It doesn't say that, but basically, God doesn't use evil to tempt anyone. But that doesn't mean he didn't create it. So, did God create it? Why did God create evil? That would be the question. Why did he create evil? No answer? No nothing? Okay, I would agree. All right, if you have your Bible with you, turn to Isaiah 45:7, and we'll go from there. Isaiah 45:7 says, we're almost there, over there.
Says he forms the light and creates the darkness.
Isaiah 45:7. This is God speaking. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, the Lord, do all these things. Does God create evil? I'm not defining it. The Bible is.
Right, but because you can have evil as in like a moral evil, then there's evil as in a bad. Some people use evil as like a bad thing that happens.
Okay.
What is the meaning of evil is what she's saying.
Okay. I don't know, but it says God makes peace, the Hebrew word. I'll get to that in a second. I make peace and create evil. So evil and peace are two opposite ends of the spectrum, because just above there you see light and dark. So peace and evil must be two different things, two opposite things, correct? I'm just asking this question, so is that not right? I form the light and create darkness. Even though we read in Genesis, God didn't say, let there be dark. He said, let there be light. And then he divided them. Can we explain it? Yes. God has to have balance? Okay, go ahead, man. That's a little bit Hindu.
Evil is the absence of good, just as darkness is the absence
Oh,
of light.
wait, say that again. No, say it again. A little bit louder. The absence of.
So evil is the absence of good. The absence of God, you have evil.
In the absence of God, you have evil. I wouldn't say that I would disagree with that one at all. All right. I form the light and create darkness. We're going to get a few minutes, so I'm just going to tell you exactly what, not exactly. I'm just going to try and explain to you what I think this means. We went over parallelism a little while back. Some of you were here, but some of you were not. Anyway, the way that parallelism works is you can take a row of things or a column of things and switch them around. And next column. Psalm 19 is the good one that I use all the time for parallelism. But this verse right here is in parallelism. I form the light and create darkness. So he's given you two contrasting things. I form light and create darkness. God's not saying that light as if, so God is light. When he's talking about this light here, it's more along the lines of energy, okay? More along the lines of energy, because God is light. He didn't have to make the sun. He made it for us, and he made it for the plants, and he made it for everything else too. He didn't have to make any of the light that we see there, but we don't see the sun until day 4, but on day 1 we see light, where God says, let there be light. But if God is light, then what did he create? He didn't create the light of God. He created an energy. Darkness would be, correct, the absence of that. If you don't have that light, that energy that God made, it is by definition, therefore, dark. If it doesn't contain that, it has to be that. Does that make sense? It has to be one or the other. If God says light, if God made the light, he did make the light. If it doesn't contain that light, it's dark. That doesn't mean that it's bad. That just means that it doesn't contain the light that God made. All right? The same thing goes for evil and peace. I make peace. What is peace? It's a tougher one. Anybody?
Comfort, calming,
All right. Comfort and calming.
lack of turmoil.
Lack of turmoil. Keep going.
Relationships
Relationships
restored.
restored. All right. I'll go with those too. Anything else? Love? Sure. Baby giggles. All right. Well, we say you don't know. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'll tell you when you're wrong. You. But the rest of you, no. Peace. So Ms. Connie mentioned the Hebrew word peace.
You won't tell her she's wrong.
No, ma'am. I won't. well done. You are correct. All right. Ms. Connie mentioned the Hebrew word there. Peace, the word for peace in Hebrew is the word you probably heard, shalom. Yes, shalom is the word for peace. But it doesn't just mean the absence of conflict. It doesn't just mean the love or whatever, or
It means well-being, it means restoration, it means health, it means,
yeah.
it has about 8 or 10 different meanings.
Yes, it does. That's the thing about it, is our English versions, I'm not saying that it's wrong, I make peace, but that peace, that shalom that's right there, is not just peace as if to say we're not at war or we're comforted. It's saying we're comforted, we're complete, we're fulfilled, we're satisfied. We need nothing else. That's exactly what shalom is. I don't need anything else. You'll see shalom in Job chapter 1:1. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was perfect. He didn't need anything. It's not saying that he was without blame. It's saying he didn't need anything. Job had everything that he asked for because he believed God. When God said to Job, this was it, Job said, yes, Lord. All right? If Job didn't have that peace, or if we don't have that peace, or if we don't, kind of like the light and the darkness, if you don't have that peace, exactly what JJ was saying over there, if you don't have the peace, you have evil. You have bad. You have something that's not good. You have something that's not from God. If God said, peace I give to you, my peace, and he said my peace too. This is what the Bible said. My peace I give unto you. He's saying, I'm giving it to you freely. All you got to do is accept it. And that will be on us to accept it. If we don't, we would therefore have evil. He didn't create evil as a direct act. He didn't say, let there be evil. God said, peace. But he didn't say, let there be peace. God is peace. God is light. God is love. It's all of those things all together all the time. And that's exactly who God is. God says, my peace I'm going to give unto you. If you don't have it then, therefore what you have is not the peace of God. You have something else. And God terms it evil. He's not saying that he created it evil. He's saying that if you don't have this, you have the other thing that is not of God, and it is therefore bad. It is therefore evil. Okay?
The verse says, I created evil.
It says, I create evil, meaning,
So that's why I asked what the Hebrew words were.
yep, I agree. That's the Hebrew words too. Shalom. I didn't go into evil ones. That's Barak, and that's a whole different story. But anyway, God said, I make peace, create evil, and it does say create, but he doesn't create it as a direct act. He created it as, I am peace, therefore if you don't have me, you have evil. If you don't have God, you have bad.
Are you saying that that's the parallelism where it would actually be I make evil and create peace?
Do what now?
Would you say that would be the parallelism part of it is you switch it around where you can say I make evil and create peace? Is that what you're saying?
You could say that, but that's not the parallelism here in this one. And this one is a little bit different. It's not synonymous parallelism, it's synthetic. So parallelism is still there to where exactly what JJ was saying, as I wanted to point it out. If you don't have that light of God that he made, then you have darkness. If you don't have the peace of God that he gives to us, you therefore have evil. It's just one or the other, okay?
So then what is that create evil? Because that says to me he creates evil.
Yeah. It does say I create evil, but it's saying I created peace because that's who I am. If you don't have it, therefore you have evil. I didn't create it as a direct act. I created it indirectly because you didn't take my peace, you will therefore have evil. You didn't take my light, you will therefore have dark. Is that kind of making sense?
Read my translation.
Yes, ma'am.
It says, Hebrew translated
Ra.
sorrow, wretchedness, adversity, afflictions, calamities, but never translated sin. God created evil only in the sense that he made sorrow, wretchedness, etc. to be the fruits of sin.
Yeah, very good. And sin is a very different word, but that's important to note is that God wouldn't make it create sin. He didn't do that. Just like we said that Satan fell. Okay, yes, he did. That's because he sinned. And exactly what you were saying right there, that is the fruit of sin. That's what you get. You get evil. You get bad stuff. The fruit of doing something good, love, joy, peace, temperance, kindness. All those things are the fruit of if you take God's peace. And there's the fruit of it. If you don't take that fruit, you will get the evil, the sin, the whatever it is, the fruit of that would be calamity. Do what? The consequence of everything that you did wrong. All right, we're out of time. Okay, sir, go ahead. Sorry. Go for it.
And much like with darkness, the only problem solver for darkness is light.
Yes.
That he's saying is the only problem solver for evil is me, is God.
Yes.
There's no other way you can get rid of or fix darkness, evil, it's just him.
That's right. Very good. Correct. What?
Sorry, just so to finish up with what you're trying to do, be ready always to give an answer.
Yeah.
A lot of the world is always going to say, why did God creates evil, why did he do that?
Yeah.
What's your quick answer on why did God create evil to a non-believer?
Well, to a non-believer, if the person asks, why did God create evil? Then my first thing was, why do you think God created evil? Because I would follow up with that personally. Why do you think God created evil? And then they're going to give a big diatribe, well, Satan fell. Okay, well, God didn't make Satan fall. Satan chose. And all this stuff that you have that's supposedly what we could term to be evil is because we choose it. It's not because God said, you will now be evil. It's because we chose that rather than choosing God. If you don't choose God, you're not choosing what's right. It is free will, and God made us all with free will, so we wouldn't be robots. God would have get that from the other ones. Where did I go with that? Lost myself. What was the question you asked so I can read it?
How to refute somebody saying why
Oh, refute. Yeah, okay. Satan didn't fall. God said, okay, he chose his own, just like we do. We choose our own evil. If we don't want to choose God's way, we're therefore choosing evil. God didn't create it. We're just choosing it because it's there. We want to choose the evil. Men, it says in the Bible too, men would rather choose the dark over the light. And it actually says, choose dark over light. That's because we're sinful. So we want something that appeals to the flesh, that appeals to our wrong, that appeals to our free will. We want that. We don't want God's way. God's way is perfect. It's peace. It's light. If we choose that, then we'll have it. If we don't choose that, we're going to have evil. And we get the consequences of that evil. That would be how I would probably start out. I mean, it would probably go longer than that because I'm not going to have a 5-minute elevator speech on evil. It's just going to be a long one.
Gonna be one of those questions like, I would love to discuss this with you. Can I get your number?
Yeah, there you go.
Contact information, and we'll
Yeah.
talk about this further. If there's anyone interested, they'll exchange contact information.
Yeah, all right, that sounds good. Okay, well, we're over on time again, so sorry about that, but there we go. I think are we singing? All right, so we have choir, if everybody's ready or if anybody's in the choir. And there we go. So thank you all for listening. Sorry if it took too long.